Hi, welcome. Tonight we're going to be reading chapter 3 of the book Meet Josefina, an American Girl. Just going to see if anybody else joins within like the next minute. So anyway, happy Friday. Do you have any exciting plans for this weekend? Or just kind of hanging out like me? Hi, welcome. I'm going to be reading American Girl, Meet Josefina, Book 1, Chapter 3. I have this right here, since she's so cute. She's one of the minis from the American Girl site, so I make sure to have her with me when I do my readings. So tonight I'm going to be starting with chapter 3. I try to read one chapter per live. Before I start, if you aren't following me, give me a follow. If you want to see my content, you don't want to miss any lives. And be sure to like the video if you enjoy it. It really helps with the algorithm, like push it out there, and it doesn't cost anything. So, for those of you just joining, I'm going to be reading chapter 3 from this book right here. Meet Josefina, an American Girl, book 1. And I have my miniature Josefina doll right here. So I'm going to be starting that now. Chapter 3, A Gift for Tia Dolores. Stand still, Josefina, said Francesca. She was slowly and carefully brushing Josefina's hair with a brush made of stiff grasses. And that's what the brush looked like. Right there. Abuelito had bought all 4 sisters beautiful blue silk hair ribbons. Francesca had put herself in charge of tying them for Josefina and Clara. Josefina fidgeted. She was grateful to Francesca, but she wished she'd hurry up. Josefina wanted to be ready for the fandango early, so she could prepare her gift for Tia Dolores. Clara tied her sash neatly, then undid it, and tied it all over again. Francesca had already brushed Clara's hair and put the blue ribbon in it. "Do you think I look all right?" Clara asked. Josefina and Francesca were surprised. It wasn't like Clara to worry about her appearance. Josefina was afraid Francesca might say something unkind. She was glad when Francesca looked at Clara for a moment and then said seriously, "You look very pretty. The blue suits you." Clara beamed. She reached up to touch her hair ribbon. It made Josefina happy to see her sisters getting along. It's because Tia Dolores is here, she thought. Francesca and Clara were in complete agreement about Tia Dolores. They both admired her very much. Josefina smiled to herself. Francesca and Clara would be pleased when they saw her gift for Tia Dolores too. "Finished," said Francesca. She gave Josefina's ribbon one last adjustment. "You look fine. Use your wings and fly away now, Josefina. I can tell you're anxious to go." "Gracias, Francesca," Josefina called back over her shoulder as she hurried from the room. The sun had set. Cool evening air slid down from the mountains, bringing darkness with it. Small bonfires were lit in the front courtyard for light and warmth. As she crossed the courtyard, Francesca could hear Josefina. Josefina could hear Anna and Carmen thanking some neighbor woman who had come early with dishes of food for the fandango. No one noticed Josefina slip into the kitchen. She took a small water jar and slipped out again. In the back courtyard, Josefina knelt down in front of Mama's flowers. One by one, she picked all the freshest and brightest colored flowers. She put them in the water jar. Josefina was careful to break the flowers off near the ground so that the stems were long, but she didn't disturb the roots. There were not many flowers, so Josefina had to pick almost all of them in order to have a bouquet anywhere near big enough and beautiful enough to give to Tia Dolores. The corner looked bare when she was through. It's all right, she told herself. Mama would approve. After all, Tia Dolores was the one who sent Mama the seeds, so Tia Dolores should be the one to enjoy the flowers. They should be a gift for her. Josefina straightened the flowers in the water jar. The bouquet looked scrawny somehow. So, Josefina slipped the blue ribbon out of her hair and tied it around the flowers in a big bow. So this is what it looked like. There, she thought with satisfaction. That looks so much better. She wanted the bouquet to be a surprise for everyone, so she looked around for a place to hide it. She had just entered the narrow passageway between the front and back courtyards when she bumped into Papa. What's this you've got here? Asked Papa, peering at Josefina over the tops of the flowers. They're a gift for Tia Dolores, explained Josefina. I wanted to give her something to thank her for the music. It was too dark to see Papa's face clearly, but Josefina could tell by his voice that he was smiling. I think that's a very fine idea, he said. I'll tell you what. I am going to make a formal introduction of Tia Dolores to all our friends and neighbors at the Fandango tonight. After I do, perhaps you will give Tia Dolores the bouquet. Yes, I will, said Josefina happily. Very well, said Papa. It will be our secret until then. Gracias, Papa, said Josefina. After Papa left, Josefina put the jar of flowers under the bench in the passageway. No one would see it there. And she would be able to fetch it quickly when it was time to give it to Tia Dolores. More guests arrived every moment. They called out a chorus of greetings to each other as they crossed the front courtyard to the Gran Sala, the family's finest room. Because this was a very special night, the Gran Sala was lit with candles. Their wavering light made the guests' shadows swoop and dance on the walls. Soon, the musicians struck up a lively tune on their fiddles, and the real dancing began. It seemed to Josefina that the dancers flew around the room with as much ease as their shadows had. Their feet hardly seemed to touch the floor at all as they whirled by in a blur of bright colors. No one whirled faster than Francesca. No one looked happier or more beautiful. In the candlelight, her dark curly hair seemed to shine like a black stone in the stream, and Josefina was glad to see that Anna had put her responsibilities aside for a while and was dancing with her husband Tomas. All around the sides of the Gran Sala, older ladies sat holding babies on their laps so that the babies' young mothers could dance. The old ladies clapped in babies' hands in time to the music. Josefina and Clara were still too young to be allowed to dance, so they stood outside in the courtyard and leaned on the windowsill, looking at the dancers. Josefina's feet danced along to the music. It was impossible to be still. The music seemed to twist and turn in the air, wind its way around all the dancers, and find its way outside to tickle Josefina's feet so that they just had to move. Every once in a while, over the music and conversation, Josefina and Clara could hear Abuelito's voice. He'd be saying, "Boom! What a sound! Those thieves ran off, and I'll bet they're running still." Clara and Josefina grinned at each other. Abuelito was telling the story about Tia Dolores' piano over and over again. The girls noticed that the number of thieves grew larger every time Abuelito told the story. So this is all of them dancing. The person both girls liked best to watch was Tia Dolores. She was easy to pick out of the crowd because she was so tall. And because no one else had hair, quite such a rich, dark red. "She dances well, doesn't she?" said Clara, as Tia Dolores swept by. "Yes," said Josefina. "She's as graceful as the music." Soon, Papa came by the window and nodded to Josefina. Josefina nodded back. "What's that all about?" asked Clara. "It's a surprise," said Josefina, excited and smiling. "Stay here and you'll see." She scurried across the courtyard to the passageway where she left the bouquet. It was very dark. Josefina bent down and felt under the bench for the water jar with the bouquet in it. It wasn't there. "That's odd," she thought. Josefina stood up perplexed, and then she saw the jar. It was lying on its side near one wall. It was empty. "Where's the bouquet?" Josefina wondered anxiously. She looked all around the passageway. The bouquet was nowhere to be seen, but an odd white shape looming in the background caught her eye. She walked towards it and gasped, "Oh no! The white shape was Florecita!" The goat must have broken out of her pen and found her way into the back courtyard. Josefina did not want to put Florecita back in her pen. When she turned away to get help, she stepped on something. She stooped down and picked it up. At first, she didn't know what it was. And then she saw. It was a few green stems held together by a trampled, mud-stained blue ribbon. Suddenly, Josefina realized what had happened. Florecita had eaten the bouquet. This was all that was left of the flowers she had picked for Tia Dolores. But that was not the worst of it. At that instant, Josefina saw what Florecita was doing. Calm as could be, Florecita was standing smack in the middle of what used to be Mama's flowers. She was chewing a mouthful of stems, one hollyhock, root, and all, dangled from her mouth. Josefina could see that no other flowers were left. All that remained were some scrangly, chewed, crushed, and broken stems, and a scattering of leaves and petals on the ground. Florecita turned her nasty yellow eyes on Josefina. The goat looked very satisfied with herself. Josefina was furious. "Florecita!" she hissed in a ferocious whisper. "You awful, awful animal! You've ruined everything!" Josefina was so angry she forgot to be afraid of Florecita. She marched right up to the goat and yanked the hollyhock out of her mouth. Florecita looked surprised. She looked even more surprised when Josefina swatted her on the back with the stem, saying, "How could you? You ate the bouquet and you killed Mama's flowers. Oh, I hate you, Florecita." Josefina shoved Florecita hard. Then she took hold of one of Florecita's fearsome horns and pulled with all her strength. "Come with me," she said. Josefina dragged Florecita back to her pen. She slammed the gate shut. I hate you, Florecita, she said again. I'll hate you forever. Josefina ran all the way back to the bench in the passageway and slumped down on it. There was nothing to be done. She looked at the dirty blue ribbon and the chewed stems wilting in her hand and fought back tears of disappointment. Josefina, a voice said, what are you doing here in the darkness? Josefina looked up. She saw Tia Dolores coming towards her. Josefina could hardly talk. She showed the sad-looking stems to Tia Dolores. This is a bouquet for you, she said in a shaky voice, but our goat, Florecita, found it and ate it, and she killed Mama's flowers too. Ah, said Tia Dolores. She sat next to Josefina on the bench. Slowly, Josefina explained, I wanted to give you a thank you gift for the piano music, she said, so I picked all the best flowers. I tied my new hair ribbon around them. The flowers were so pretty. They grew from the seeds you sent Mama. I've been watering them since Mama died, because I know she loved them. Now, there are none left. There will never be any more. The flowers are dead. Tia Dolores was a good listener. She sat still and gave Josefina her full attention. Neither one of them noticed the noise and laughter coming from the Gran Sala. The fandango seemed far away. When Josefina was finished explaining, Tia Dolores said, Show me your Mama's flowers. Josefina led Tia Dolores to the back courtyard. You see, she said, there is nothing left. Tia Dolores knelt down. She looked at what was left of the flowers. She scooped up a handful of soil and rubbed it between her fingers. Gently, she touched the short, bitten-off stems. Then she smiled at Josefina. Don't worry, she said. Your Mama planted these flowers well. The roots are deep and strong. You've kept them healthy by watering the soil. They'll live, I promise. She stood and brushed the soil off her hands. Do you like caring for flowers? She asked. Josefina nodded. I used to help Mama, she said. I bought some seeds with me when I left Mexico City, said Tia Dolores. Perhaps you and I can plant them tomorrow. Oh, could we? Said Josefina. Yes, said Tia Dolores. We'll wash your hair ribbon too. Now, we had better get back to the Gran Sala. Papa met them at the door. Josefina, he said, where have you been? I introduced Tia Dolores, but then I couldn't find you. Oh, Papa, said Josefina, Florecita ate the bouquet, and then she almost ruined all the rest of Mama's flowers. Ah, that's too bad, said Papa sadly. He looked around the courtyard. Is Florecita loose? No, said Josefina. I dragged her back to her pen and shut the gate. You did? Asked Papa. But I thought you were afraid of Florecita. I am, said Josefina. I was. I guess just now I was so angry at Florecita that I forgot. Papa laughed. Well, we never know where our courage is going to come from, he said. I am sorry about the flowers, though. Tia Dolores says the flowers will be all right, said Josefina. She's going to help me plant new seeds tomorrow. Is she? Said Papa. He turned and smiled at Tia Dolores. Well then, Dolores, he said, that means you'll have to come back often, he said. You'll have to visit us to see how the flowers are coming along. I will, said Tia Dolores, God willing. Come inside and have something to eat now, said Papa. Anna would never forgive us if we didn't enjoy the food she's prepared. Josefina followed Papa and Tia Dolores into the Gran Sala. She grinned to herself. I guess the caravan didn't need to bring me the courage to stand up to Florecita after all, she thought. It turns out I already had it. But I might never have found it if I hadn't picked a bouquet for Tia Dolores. An idea danced through Josefina's head just then. As quick as the flicker of starlight on water, the idea appeared and disappeared. But it was an idea that would come again and again all the rest of the night and through the next day until it grew from an idea into a heartfelt hope. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you aren't following already, be sure to give me a follow. I try to read at least one chapter a week. I mean, I try to do it more than that, but I do a minimum of once a week. So be sure to follow me so you know when I'm going live. And I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.